Artist Toolkit
with Guitar.
My whole background actually comes from piano. Before I played guitar, I played classical piano, and I was in a bunch of orchestras, so I played violin. So my frame of reference, because I started on piano, is I was going to be piano. And so when I taught myself guitar, I ended up thinking of the fretboard like the left hand and the right hand. I also at the time didn't have a band or anything, so I was just trying to write stuff that sounded as full as possible as one person. So naturally gravitated towards two-handed tapping because it's just a lot like playing a keyboard. And then the open tuning aspect of how I play ended up helping me be able to use the open strings as kind of like drones to fill out the sound, but also be able to fret certain intervals easier so I can have functioning rudimentary bass lines as I'm doing all this intricate stuff at the top. So for me, the lower strings are kind of like my left hand, and then my higher strings are like what a lead melody would do on right hand. And of course the two are interchangeable. But I have this one riff from one of our songs called Atreyu. It goes like, so that's just basically without any effects. And as you can see, it's polyphonic. And what that means is there's just multiple voices going on. That's kind of what like my left hand is doing, my lower strings. And then, so my right hand kind of has like a call and response thing going. And that's, and then, and so that when it works all together, it kind of gives the illusion of multiple voices going on at the same time. So hopefully the second time I play it through, you can kind of hear how there's a functioning bass aspect of it. Those long notes that drone through, it really helps fill out the sound of tapping. And I think a lot of people, when they think of tapping, think of like Eddie Van Halen Eruption, which is a dope riff, but the way I'm approaching it is more like, all right, I'm gonna like combine finger picking with tapping. I like to call it integrated tapping instead of just having like the whole thing be a tapping riff, and I think it just sounds more interesting. Like I said, I approach writing melodies very visually, and for me, each technique can be palm muting, bends, tapping with the staccato quality, slides. It's all textural, and I like having a lot of diversity in the stuff I write just to keep it interesting. And I like music to be dynamic and very textural. So one challenge in playing this kind of stuff would, I guess, be, for those of you who want to learn from this, I'm in FACGBE, which is another alternate tuning, different than the one I spoke of before, with the difference of the C being a B. And I have my capo on the 2nd fret. And people oftentimes ask, why do I use a capo? And for me, it's just a really fun tool to be able to change whatever key you're writing in. I feel like, I don't know if this sounds crazy, but just some melodies just sound better in different keys. I don't know if it has something to do with like the acoustics of it all, or maybe there's like a chemistry explanation. I'm not heady enough to talk about that, but I do notice when I listen with my ear that I just like certain things in certain keys. Also, I do sing and I play when I play sometimes, and it's just a fun way for me to be able to sing in the exact key I want. And also you can do fun stuff like partially capo strings. Tim Collis from TTNG does that, and it's really cool because you all of a sudden can just jump an octave on the higher strings and it sounds really interesting and just a fun, inspiring thing to shake things up a bit for your songwriting. So yeah, if you want to learn this, FACGBE, my tips for being able to do it is a lot of you are probably used to just finger picking down here, and when I have to play this way, I ended up breaking that rule a lot because just economically it's impossible and very slow to have to travel back and forth here, like, and then go down, that's just dumb. So I ended up finger picking on the fretboard a lot. Of course, you're gonna get kind of more muffled tone, like you get the best tone down here, but you know, for the sake of fluidity, staying up here is nice. So you're gonna get used to playing up here. I'm not anchoring my wrist on anything, I'm kind of just floating, so that might feel a little weird, but ultimately I'm just relaxed and I'm just floating, just chilling up here. And I will say another thing that I have to be conscious of, because I'm using the lower strings that drone out, it can get a little muddy, especially if you start adding effects. So I like to consciously mute with my left hand and the palm of my right hand, so. Up here, I'm getting rid of all the drone notes from before, and also when you tap without doing that, you kind of get like a gross overtone, but I'm basically being my own fret wrap right now. I don't use fret wraps because with integrated tapping, it's like, if I had a wrap, I couldn't let those strings ring out. So I'm just kind of muting on the fly, and I use my palm too to kind of just let these low strings chill out. So yeah, this is just some tips and things to think about. Another thing is I do have my compression on right now. It helps, but I like to practice completely without. In fact, let's put my practice to the test, turn that compressor off and see what it sounds like. So I think I passed. Yeah, compression is fun because basically a thing that you might find challenging is getting everything to sound even dynamically. When you have the finger picking component with the ringing strings and the tapping, it's like maybe the tapping doesn't ring out as nicely. So compression is kind of like taking a spade and just like smoothing that all out. And yeah, it can help with your sustain as well. It can be a really great tone shaping, sculpting tool. I'm a big compression fan, big EQ fan. Trying to think what else I can tell you about tapping. I guess to get the best tone, you can probably hear this yourself, but in the middle, and if you tap on the fret, you're gonna, just dead, sounds dead. This is very alive, very full. Another thing is when you do tap slides, I think a lot of people think they have to like play it like literally like a piano, and that is gonna just wear you out. It doesn't sound very fluid. And to sound the most fluid, you're gonna actually utilize the weight of your hand. It's kind of like, I don't know if any of you guys box or something. I'm by no means a boxer, but you are not just swinging your arm. That's a great way to get an injury. You're actually throwing the entire weight of your body into the punch, and that's how you get a good punch. So I'm throwing the entire weight of my hand. I'm just like falling on it, and that's how I like to get the strongest sound. And when I do tap slides, some people think when they start tapping that you have to like lift immediately, and that's not true. You can get nice sustain if you just stay there. It's kind of like, I just played Guitar Hero like a few weeks ago, and I never played before, but it's kind of like when you hold the button and you get that like long line. It kind of feels like that when you're tapping. But yeah, I guess those are my tapping tips. One thing I also like to do with tapping is once I'm all rehearsed and I feel like I'm at a place where I can play it very fluidly, I love adding delay to it, especially if it's all in one nice key. It just kind of brings it to space. It gives it this ethereal quality again. It blooms, blossoms out. So let's hear it with some tapping. what that does also is it puts your evenness to the test, because if you play with a rhythmic effect such as delay, it's actually going to help you keep steady because you get that repeat as your kind of rhythmic point of reference. So you're going to listen to that repeat and try to stay even with it. So for those of you struggling to kind of keep even, I think number one, obviously use a metronome. I think mastery is when you're able to use a metronome. Actually, what people realize is when you're listening to a click or playing with the drummer or playing with a metronome, you're doing two things at once. You're not only playing what you know, but you're actually listening at the same time. And when you haven't mastered something, you're not going to be able to listen at the same time as you play it. So for me, playing to a metronome is a great way to see how I really know it. And plus, you should play it at every tempo. True mastery of something doesn't only mean you can shred at the speed of light, it means you can play it like the slowest, most grueling tempo and still have it flow and still be comfortable. And that has saved my life so many times on stage. Also being able to jump in at any point, I practice that as well because sometimes stuff happens and you can't start it over, so you just have to know how to jump in. But yeah, like if you don't have a metronome or anything, or maybe for some reason all you have is a delay pedal, delay can be a great way to practice staying steady.